Hey, it's Ben back for another draft here on CubeTutor. So let's see if I get any fourth picks Library of Alexandria. So pretty straightforward pack here. There's Wormcoil Engine, and then there's some other great cards. But there's Wormcoil Engine. It's one of the best cards in the cube, and it's actually one of the most drafted cards in the cube as well. Looking at the most drafted list, it's really interesting to see Wormcoil so high up. Actually, it's not, because it's awesome. Other cards, if Wormcoil were not here, I would take, if I wanted to go red, I would take Goblin Guide. If I wanted to just kind of take the best, just a quality card, I would take a Lightning Bolt. But if I took Goblin Guide and wanted to go red, I'm pretty sure I could wheel one of these three red cards. It just depends what kind. This is a great pack outside of Wormcoil, just because you can draft whatever card you're in the mood to play. Like if I wanted to play red today, I would just take Goblin Guide. If I wanted to go white weenie, I could just take Student. If I wanted to play blue something control, I could take Sphinx. But actually, I would probably just take Maze of Ith if that was the case. If I wanted to take Ramp or try and get some sort of sweet deck going, I could take Chalice. But Wormcoil is just the pick here. So pretty flexible right now as far as what I'm going to draft. So I would play pretty much anything but hard aggro. I would take mid-range or control or anything like that. So let's look. There's an Ancient Tomb, which combos really well with their Wormcoil as colorless ramp. There's Remand. Just buys me some time so I can have an extra turn or two to try and actually cast the Wormcoil. Noble Hierarch allows me to play the Wormcoil even sooner. Same with Gross Spasm. Compulsive Research is a solid draw spell. If I had first picked the Goblin Guide, I would slam the Figure of Destiny here and be very happy with having two red 1-drops to get my draft started, and actually the two best red 1-drops. So this is actually an interesting pick here. I'm kind of down to Remand or I think the land. I think I might just take Ancient Tomb here and try and get some sort of colorless shell going. Take as much ramp as I can, colorless ramp, and as many artifacts as I can. So my cube does not have either of the Tezzerets in it, so it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be able to build some sort of sweet artifact combo deck or anything like that. I don't have Time Vault or anything along those lines. But colorless ramp is good, and maybe I'll try and get an Upheaval deck. Maybe Upheaval will show up, and I can do that. All right. So, Goblin Welder. I did a draft. My very first draft I did that I recorded was done around Goblin Welder, and it seems like a great combo with Wormcoil Engine, especially if I have ways I can get stuff into the graveyard and ways to get Wormcoil back. I mean, Wormcoil is unbeatable, but a second or third copy of Wormcoil is just nuts. So I could take Reflecting Pool or Snuff Out. I mean, none of these options are nearly as exciting as the thought of doing Goblin Welder with Wormcoil. So I'm going to take that, try and get ways to make Goblin Welder the focus of my deck. Maybe go blue-red to try and get some ways to put cards in the graveyard. Same thing, I could go black-red. And black would also give me some reanimation spells to get Goblin Welder back to get with Wormcoil. So that's a really late Control Magic, fourth pick. Personally, I like Control Magic, I think, more than I probably should and more than most people would draft it. Like, I would first pick Control Magic out of 95% of the packs and be very happy. But here, the fact that it's fourth pick is a really good sign. I guess not sign, but it's a good indicator that blue is a good place to be in. I guess, again, I'm drafting with bots, and I understand that. But I think it's important to try and treat this like a real draft, like reading signals and so forth, even though the bots are not sending signals. But I'm going to take Control Magic and probably move into blue-red, or I could still be blue something else, splash Goblin Welder. So let's take Control Magic. And I have Icy. I have Deep Analysis to draw some cards. Faithless Looting if I want to go real deep and try and get some of my sweet cards into the graveyard to weld away. Not really the best blue card. I would probably take Deep Analysis here if I was doing that. Icy Manipulator is a great way to buy some time. This is a tough pick here. I feel like this is a critical juncture, even though it's only the fifth pick of the draft. I feel like it's a critical juncture. I could go Is It again and just take like a Stagger Shock. I could just take the Icy if I wanted to stay. That's probably the most flexible pick, is if I take Icy. I still don't have to play Control Magic, but I really like Control Magic. So I think I'm going to take I think I'm going to take Icy. It combos well with the Ancient Tomb, so I can get to it sooner. And I'm going to have to look for any sort of life gain card that I can. So maybe whether that's a Face Fetters or even something as simple as a Lone Missionary, but life gain is going to be key with my Ancient Tomb. And having Wormcoil is a great start. Obviously, would love to have Batterskull, but I'm going to have to first pick that if I want to get that card. So, no blue cards here. Red cards got Grim Lavamancer, which doesn't really combo with the Welder so much, but it's solid card, especially if I can start getting some blue instants and get some more red burn spells. Yeah, I think I'm just going to take Grim Lavamancer here. This seems fine. Yeah. I could still move into like blue-green ramp if I want to do that. That's kind of an interesting thought. I could take Tri-Belter. I could take Kadama's Reach, play that on turn 2 to ramp, and then get Wormcoil out even quicker. So I could go green-blue and try and go real deep. I think there was a Prime Speaker in one of the previous packs. I think it might have been the last one. So maybe I could just take Kadama's Reach and try and go real deep. Yeah, let's try something different. Let's go blue-green and take Kadama's Reach. All right, so Frantic Search, that combos with the Welder. There's also the Vivid Creek. There's Preordain. Yeah, I'm going to try and go a little deep and take the Frantic Search. I think the best card might be for what I'm trying to do would be the Vivid Creek or Preordain, or even Woodfall Primus, but I'm going to try and keep the Welder Dream alive. So let's take the Frantic Search. All right, so Simic Sky Swallower, great card to ramp into. If I want to go blue-green ramp, I can still do that. It's that or Sulphur Fall, so I can splash for the Welder. But I think the pick here is, especially if I'm going to be green, I should have enough spells to get me that one red land that I need to cast the Welder, so I'm going to take the Sky Swallower. All right, so this is what lapped. So got Big Sphinx, and then we got Chalice and Gifts. So I think I'm just going to take the Chalice here. And 2 of the red cards did wheel, even though I didn't take one. So that means, in theory, if I had taken like Goblin Guide, then I still would have gotten one of these back, and still that would have been great. So I think I'm going to take the Chalice and just see where I go. So here's Moloku, late again, and then Growth Spasm, or I could take the Gorge if I still want to splash the Goblin Welder. And I guess actually the Goblin Welder, the Chalice combos really well with the Wormcoil in that regard, because I can play Chalice for 0 and get my Wormcoil back. So maybe I should have taken that Gifts to try and get the Wormcoil into the yard, because there's no way my opponent would give that to me. But I guess if I have Welder out, they're probably screwed either way. So I think it comes down to I'm going to take the Growth Spasm, or I'm going to take Moloku. I think the play here is I already have Kadama's Reach, but I already have two really good finishers. So do I really need Moloku? I'm going to take Growth Spasm just to make sure I have enough ramp spells. All right, going to take Reflecting Pool here. I could take the Pride Mage as a splash, but that's not nearly as good. So I'll take the Reflecting Pool. And there's the Prime Speaker that did come back, as well as Flooded Grove and Masticore. So I think I'm going to just go for a Prime Speaker deck and just see how that goes. Flooded Grove is a tough card to pass, especially since that puts me with, I'll have Reflecting Pool, but I'll essentially have 0 fixing land after pack 1. But the Prime Speaker is going to be a fun card. Going to take the Faithless Looting, still there. I don't think I'm going to be a Troll Aesthetic deck. I'm trying to go big, so I really don't care about that. So I'm going to take the Faithless Looting to try and keep that going. Sure, I'll take Spike Shot and Lone Lion, one of the least drafted cards in the whole cube. So here's pack 2. So right now I am blue-green, go big. That's my strategy. So what plays into that strategy? Just a handful of cards. I could take Rolling Earthquake to have an actual Wrath effect for blue-green, because sometimes blue-green just can get swarmed. Wall of Roots, the Elder, Force Spike, Mental Misstep, but I think that's a step below all these other cards. I think I'm going to take the Wall of Roots, blocks like a champ, and if I can get a Mox or something, I can cast it on turn 1, which would be great, and just gives me a lot more options. So I'm going to take the Wall of Roots here. So, spicy pack here. Baneslayer, but I'm nowhere near there. I could take, I think it just comes down to Factor Fiction, Molten Tail Masticore, but that's probably not the pick, and Opposition. So blue-green is actually, Opposition, I feel, is almost a blue-green card, and just how it's played out in my cube experience. I feel like Opposition really plays like a blue-green card because you just, with all the little elves, mana elves, or anything you get out, you can just tap down your opposing creatures and then just swing them with your big guy. But I feel like both the guys I already have, Wormcoil and Sky Swallower as finishers, and control magic more or less. But these two guys as finishers, they don't need to be, they don't need to have a path cleared for them. Wormcoil is just going to kill anything that blocks it, and worst case it dies and makes more guys. Sky Swallower is just not going to die. So I think Factor Fiction is just a sweet draw spell is what I want to do here. Alright, so there's a Tega, there's Time Spiral, and then there's the Efreet. I don't know if I want another card that does damage to me, so I think I'm going to just take the Tega here, and that'll help some fetches that I can potentially get in the next pack and a half anyway. So, yeah, I'm just going to take the Tega. Alright, wow, Batterskull 4th pick, that's insane. So I'm going to take the Batterskull here, and my deck just got real good. Yeah. So the two best life gain cards in the whole cube are now in my deck, to go with the Ancient Tomb and to go with all my ramp. I'm passing a Sword and a Balance, a Sweet Unburial Rites, but Batterskull is just awesome. Alright, so Hoof. Am I a Hoof deck? How many little guys do I have to take advantage of Crater Hoof Behemoth? So, I mean, I'm not going to count that. So I'll have Control Magic, so I'll have one guy, Sky Swallower, Prime Speaker, maybe Welder, and Wormcoil. But I still think at this point this is the pick, and I need to really focus on getting as much ramp and little mana elves as I can get. Scavenging Ooze would be the next best card for me to take, but there's no way I'm taking that over Hoof. Alright, so 2 mana elves in the same pack, a land, and Hornet Queen, but I think I'm pretty much maxed out on finishers. I have Batterskull, Wormcoil, Sky Swallower, and Behemoth. I won't count Prime Speaker, it's just more of a draw engine and can be real big. But 4 finishers already, I feel like is a great amount. I could just take the land here, but I think I really, really have to have some mana elves. So I'll take Land of War Elves. Alright, so I have Kira, which would help to protect all my guys from removal, and Aether Adept, and that's it. So Aether Adept really helps me against all the super fast decks out there, all the aggro decks. I can bounce one of their guys and have a blocker for one of them. I can also just get Kira just to have some protection and to have a flyer. Having a flying creature is good. I'm not going to take Spinethopter here. So do I want Aether Adept or Kira? So I am heavier green at this point. My only double blue cards are Control Magic and Prime Speaker. I guess I only have a couple heavy green cards though too. So, but the way this deck's going to play out, I'm going to be heavier green. So the double blue is going to be a little tougher to cast, but I think I'm going to take the Kira just to have protection, because I'm going to have some awesome finishers, and just a way to protect it seems real good. But this could be wrong. Aether Adept's really good. All right. Wow. Another finisher, Aetherling. That might be... I mean, I have some great finishers. I have Wormcoil, which is just awesome. But Aetherling is one of the best finishers in the cube in its short time here. Just being able to bounce it and being able to make it unblockable, it's so hard to deal with. I'm not going to take Fettergeist because the upkeep's going to be too much. Or in Viper's a fine blocker. I'm really glad I actually passed the Aether Adept because I want to take Mana War here. If I didn't have one of these finishers, I would take the Aetherling and be very happy. But Mana War seems like exactly what I want right now. Alright, this is the wheel. I'm going to take the Rolling Earthquake. This will give me 2 potential splashes with Goblin Welder and the Earthquake and maybe Faithless Looting. And I do have the Tega. So I need to try and get some more mana fixing though for sure. Well, Raging Ravine isn't the worst, and I'm not going to play anything else here, so I'm going to take that. It could work well if I actually run a basic mountain or have a way to fetch up the Tega. Then the Raging Ravine could actually get animated. So the Time Spiral came back, so that's the pick. I don't know if I'm going to run it in this deck because I'm already so loaded on the top end, but that's fine. What card do I not want to play against? I think I don't want to play against Mana Tithe. With casting all my big guys, I wouldn't want to get Mana Tithed. Similarly, I would not want to get Smoke Stacked. Having to sacrifice permanents while I'm trying to cast 8 drops is not really what I want to do, nor do I want to discard cards. And Spinethopter. Alright, last pack for my blue-green good stuff deck. And there's Tropical Island, and thankfully there's no bomby cards in my colors, so I can just take the land. Now I'd love to get any green or blue fetches. I'm going to have to take those pretty highly. I do have 2 3-mana ramp spells / fixing spells, but I think getting my land a little better is going to be really key. So the Marsh Flats does actually a total whiff. It does not hit my Tropical Island or my Tega, so that's unfortunate. There's Tarmogoyf. There's Crows and Tusker as another fixer / finisher. There's Grand Coliseum. The question is, do I really need, if I take the Grand Coliseum, how many red sources will that give me? That'll give me the Tega, that'll give me Grand Coliseum, and if I were in one mountain, that'll give me 5, because I have 2 ways to fetch. Well, Crows and Tusker would be a nice way to fetch 2. Similarly, I could take the Kitchen Finks as just some life gain against the aggro deck, but yeah, and that would actually combo well with the Ancient Tomb that I have. Well, I think I'm going to take, I think it's down to Tusker or Coliseum for what I'm going to do. So I think I want to take, I'm just really concerned about my mana, so I'm going to take the Coliseum. Wow. Liliana, but I'm not there. So what are my green-blue cards that are options? Unfortunately, not much. Lightning Greaves is kind of interesting in this deck, especially, I mean, being able to Lightning Greaves like a Worm Coil would just be nuts. I could take Mystical Tutor. What instants or sorceries can I grab? Maybe an Earthquake effect. I mean, a ramp spell. That's just taking a card. Spending a card to get one of these is probably not worth it. So this pack's very disappointing. I think I'm just going to take the Elder, have some artifact enchantment removal, because actually, even though I'm blue-green, I don't have any of that right now. So Bayou and Thran Dynamo and Skull Clamp. Skull Clamp's interesting. How much do I need Thran Dynamo? So I can ramp that out like on turn 3 with the Ancient Tomb. Then I can play, yeah, this is close. Skull Clamp and Thran Dynamo are both solid for what I want to do. I'm gonna take the ramp. I think Thran Dynamo can be pretty sweet here. Natural Order. What can I natural order into? I only have, as far as small green guys, I only have 1 Land of War Elves and a Wall of Roots. Big green guys I have Craterhoof, I have Sky Swallower, and I have Prime Speaker. I would likely most likely, unless I have a ton of creatures out, I would get the Sky Swallower. It's just a big finisher. Similarly, I could take Thrun, just because Thrun is just a card that a lot of decks struggle to beat. I know when I'm the blue player and I see Thrun get played, it's always a tough card to beat. So, do I just want to kind of hedge my bets and take Thrun? I don't have any equipment other than Batterskull to make Thrun, the fact that he's untargetable, real good. Or I could just take Natural Order. Well, I think I'm going to take Natural Order and try and get a couple more small green guys. That's what I'm hoping for. Some small green guys or some mana over these next 2 picks. So, Oracle Moldiah, I guess that's the pick here. I'm not very excited, but that's where I am. I could take Fast Bond. I could take Ulamog. I just don't need an 11 drop. I'm going to take Oracle. Alright. So, Dungeon Geist or Acidic Slime. I feel like Acidic Slime is a good option, and that's another good card to get rid of for Natural Order. I mean, yeah, it's a 2/2 Death Touch creature, which is fine, but it's probably already done its job by killing something on its way in. And Dungeon Geist is okay, but I don't think I need that. So I'll take the Slime. So the last new card that I'm going to see is this pack. So Trigon Predator as a blue-green card. It's a flyer. It destroys opposing artifacts and enchantment. It's sweet. Chromatic Lantern helps fix my mana. There's Plow Under. Ramping into Plow Under is sweet. Like casting it on turn 4 and just making your opponent skip 2 draw steps. I don't know if I'm going to have enough real good stuff to make him pay for that. So I think, and then there's Chromatic Lantern, but I feel like my mana is okay enough already. I think I'm just going to take the Predator here, and that's a great, I mean, it's a 2/3 flyer, and just, it forces your opponent, if they have a good artifact or enchantment, they have to deal with it. So, Wolf-Bitten Captive or Pithing Needle. I'm just going to take a Pithing Needle probably and put it in the sideboard. Nothing good here. I'll just take the disc. Wow, this pack 3 has not been very good. What card would I want to play against the least? I mean, Hearth Kami, yeah, probably Hearth Kami. Got a flyer, a bunch of little guys. I don't care about the 2/2s. They're not really going to do much. So I'm going to take the Profane Command. Ooh, Mishra's Factory, yeah. I could play that. And Karmic Guide and Mirror Entity. Alright, so I'm green-blue stuff. I don't think I'm going to play that Time Spiral. So, I don't know if I'm going to play that Rolling Earthquake. Don't know if Frantic Search is going to be very good. So, this is 23 right here, and I think I'm okay to just run 17 lands because I do have plenty of ramp. I have 2 ramp spells. I'm really glad I took those early on. I was kind of thinking it might have been overkill taking the Growth Spasm, but I'm glad I did. Got the Wall of Roots and the Chalice. I do have a lot of colorless ramp, which makes Sky Swallower and Wormcoil even better. Not as good for the Behemoth and the Prime Speaker. But I'm not splashing red, even though I took some of the cards to do the Goblin Welder. I can weld. I don't think it's worth the splash. It's just not worth it. So this is 23, and I can always bring in Spinethopter, or I can bring in the Rolling Earthquake if I'm against like a weenie deck. But this is fine. What lands do I want to run? So those are my 3 non-basics. I could play a Mishra's Factory. That might be a little greedy though, with Prime Speaker and Crater Hoof in here. So I still think Frantic Search will be fine, just as a way to, if it's early on and I need lands, I can just discard some of the expensive guys. Same thing late, I can sift away some of the cheap cards and then try and find my finishers. So let's try it with Mishra's Factory. That gives me 13 basics if I do that, and I'll count those both as duels because I think Reflecting Pool is going to be a dual land most of the time. So I'm heavier green. So am I 7/6? You know what? I think I need to play Grand Coliseum. I really do. So if I go 7/5, that gives me 9 straight up green sources plus Reflecting Pool to cast these cards on turn 1 and 2, or cast Growth Spasm, Kodama's Reach on turn 3. I feel like that's... And similarly, blue sources, that gives me 7. Got the Coliseum and Island, 7 blue sources plus Reflecting Pool. So 9/7 mana base plus Reflecting Pool. Is that enough? That's a little on the low side, honestly. But my only other option is to go 10/6. If I go 10/6, I don't really care about casting Kira, for example, on turn 3. Like, that doesn't really matter to me. But, if I go 9/7, yeah, 10/6 might be a little better, but then I'm just always going to be, every time I'm going to be fetching, every time I cast these, I'm going to be fetching my blue mana. Now, I think I'm just going to go 7/5. The mana is not nearly as good in this deck as I would like, but it's okay. This deck, honestly, is just going to win with its pure power. Cards like Wormcoil and Batterskull are both, like almost every cube deck I have, I would love to have these cards. Control Magic to steal their best guy. Factor Fiction to draw more gas. I can Natural Order into an insane card. Wish I had more shuffle effects for Oracle to make it better. I really only have like 2. I guess I have Frantic Search. That kind of helps too. And I do have some colorless ramp to help get into Batterskull and Wormcoil even quicker. So, yeah, overall this deck is good. I feel like its mana at times is going to be a little inconsistent, but overall the card power is just so strong. I wish I had some more playables, thinking I kind of hedged into red, but I can always, worst case, I can always just bring in the Rolling Earthquake and the couple red lands out of the board. So this is my blue-green super ramp deck, and overall, I think it would do pretty well. I think I would definitely lose a match just because of my mana, and there's a chance I am a little soft to aggro, only having these as my 1 and 2 drops respectively. But if I can get past that, and I do have Ancient Tomb, but if I can get past the aggro deck, You know, I think I could do 2 or 3 1 a pot with this deck. So